I guess it's odd making videos about academics or talking about academia in general when I am a person that is kind of heavily involved with it, and technically at some point, if not already, I will fit the description of an academic because I do academic work precisely, and I have not really published anything um, officially or anything like that. But I dwell around these people, and the expectation is that one day I'll become one of them, which is um, interesting. It does feel like a factory, and this is a common critique that is made sometimes of like, oh yeah, this place is just milking you to become like your professors, and like it's a they say that at least in philosophy they say that it's a pyramid scheme because we're teaching people who will go on to become philosophy professors who will teach other people how to become philosophy professors, and like that's kind of like the pipeline, which, well, at least I was told by some people that the undergraduates, at least in this institution, go to so many other places, and like very few of them ever end up actually in graduate school, which is true. I mean, most people who will study philosophy in university will not practice it. It's very few people of that pool who actually end up going like professionally with it, I guess. But that's not the point. The point is, like, still, I'm going to talk about academics as if it was something external to me, because I feel like I'm still in that place where I can do it, given that I've only been in this for like 2 months, um, professionally at least. So what I'm saying is that I think academics are funny when they talk about things outside of their worlds, or when they analyze like real life happenings, like events and cultural things and whatever. And this comes especially because in class we talked about these illegal raves that this was in Morocco. It's like from the movie Sirat, which is actually a great movie if you haven't watched it yet. It's kind of centered around the free party movement and all that. And it's funny because this is actually something that I participated in at some point in my life. I lived in France for some time, and I got to meet people who like participated in organized free parties and all that. And I got to see it, in person, and be a part of the movement. And it's not up to me to really talk about what happens there, or like really the philosophy of their movement or whatever. Like, I think I was not involved to that extent that I could entirely summarize it. But it's it was just funny, like how our professor was talking about it, because and how people in class were talking about it too, because it's like, oh yeah, these people who are like abjected from society, and like all they do is just dance, and all they want to do is like get high and get into this like greater state of mind and being, which it might be true for some people, like that's the whole point for their attending. But I don't know, after watching the movie there were just some little moments that I was like, just brought me back to some resemblances that I was like, this is pretty realistic, how they portray it sometimes. I mean, the movie has goes to like some crazy places, and it's kind of insane, honestly, and it's a tough watch if you are gonna just be advised. There's a moment when like the police kind of stops this party, and this happens often because they are illegal. And these people are just kind of saying like, okay, calm down, like don't get aggressive, you don't need to have your guns out, blah blah blah. And there's a moment when this guy, he's just angry, and he's like, we're just dancing, like we're not doing anything. And that phrase, like, mais on danse là, on fait rien, on danse. That's one place where I was like, I feel like this is real, and this is a common response that you would get when you analyze it from outside. You can obviously see this group of people who they don't participate in the economy. They probably have problems with their family, like not all of them though, but it can happen. Or you know like maybe they are not entirely able-bodied, or they are, some of them like don't have like a fixed residence, so what we would call like homeless. It does not have the same implications for them as it has for us, because for us that kind of means like it's pretty much the end of the world. So like that's why it would be understandable that you would be in the desert partying, getting high, because there's like just really nothing else that you could be doing, when in reality this is just another way of living and another way of having community. Or at least I think that's how they would describe it. Like they would just say like, yeah, I mean, the main, obviously it's fun. It's fun to have a place to dance and to meet people. Like, I think they agree that everyone has a right to dance, and that's why that sentence to me was so poignant, because it's like, we're just dancing. Like, we're not doing anything, we're just dancing. This is not a violent movement. Like, I know it looks crazy to you from the outside, but we're not even, you know, it's like if you move us out of the space because like of a notion of private property and whatever, the space will still be unused. So you could at least give us a couple more hours to finish the party. I know that it gets translated as an unreasonable logic, um, to authorities and to people who participate in, I don't know, neoliberalism. It's just another way of like passing on knowledge as well. Like, this is simply another way of pursuing life, of living, of creating stories, of sharing history. Like, this is, if anything, another something like akin to the academic space, where you like get along with people who are like-minded, and then like you just sort of share this ideology, and then like you meet of all these people, you hear about what brought them here, where they're going next, how they see life, experiences that they had that have shaped them and, you know, changed them. And you also are in the presence of art, because the music, it's very creative. I mean, techno is one of the most creative ways of doing music, because it's not entirely improvisational, but there are some aspects of improvisation. Like, whatever music you hear at a party will never be the same, because the DJ is mixing live. um and I think when I understood that, that really changed the perspective for me as well, because it's like, whatever is happening, the music is definitely influencing your movement and the things that come to mind and the reflections that you're having. And it does send you into this state of trance, but it's not just to be there to enjoy it in that very second. Like, whatever happens during that party, during that gathering, will follow you and will, you know, continue to affect you throughout your life. So I think, um I don't know, it does feel kind of like a sacred place, and for some people that's what it was. And I understand why the, you know, the free party movement is just so crucial and important for some people, because you would think that if it's something so illegal that the state is just so against, that eventually a lot of people would just kind of give it up, and they'd say like, okay, or they, you know, they would be forced into submission somehow, which does happen. And I've met people in other countries, like in Europe, where it's a lot more strict. You do see the movement diminish a lot, and it really does remain for people who are very much at the margins of society, because there's just nowhere else, and they're not willing to compromise. But it's easier to send people into submission and say like, just go get a job, and or just go study, or just like, we'll give you all these other opportunities that you can do. But I guess for some people, they're just against the fact that the state has to provide possibilities of existence, because it's like, why can I not make my own? Just kind of anarchic, right? It's fine. Like, if you just find a way of living and you're really not bothering anyone, because a lot of the times they're not. Like, they find specifically remote spaces, um, and they try to go just away, and they try to really just make sure that it's only their crowd who goes there, so that also random people don't just kind of get in and fuck it up, or just do it wrong and maybe die, or which is not the deadliest space, but like, you know, there's uses of substances, and it's not, you know, yeah, there's vehicles and whatever, and there's people who go with kids, which is, I don't think it's great, and they go with pets, and so it's like not the most, for our standards of what, you know, health is. It's not, it's striking. So that's why the state kind of has this very overt reaction towards it, and it's also a matter of control, right? Like, you cannot just let a group of society decide that they're just gonna break all the laws in this one space and that it's gonna be okay. Like, you as a state have to be like, no, this is crazy. You know, they have to enforce something. So I see, you know, where that role comes in as well. But it precisely goes back to that. Like, why is there such a need to enforce control? Why is there such a need to force people into a certain path of doing things, or to force people into a state of submission at all times, in all spaces, even when they try to be like as marginal as possible? It's funny because in the academic space, like, at least when watching this movie, all we got was this other side, the side of like kind of shock and horror, and just observing these people through a screen. Like, wow, like, I can't believe, you know, like, they live like this and they have no other choice but to, you know, be marginal and like go from party to party getting high, and it's just such a feeling of like that's not what's going on there. um it's simply another community, like regard them as such. And yeah, I think it does leave me with that feeling of you cannot ever understand something fully unless you participate in it. And even when you participate in it, like you're still not entirely there. Like you will still have a perspective, like from your eyes into whatever is happening. It gets you closer, and you actually get to interact with people who fully embody whatever it is that they believe in, but it doesn't um yeah, it doesn't, it's not the same. It's never the same. And that's not, I guess, like academics have to do their thing and they have to keep analyzing everything, right? Like otherwise what's the point of their being? But otherwise, like, let's just end the academy and stop studying things and people and communities. Like, it's good that if someone feels compelled to think about these things that they do so. But I think we don't accept enough the fact that there's just always this separation, there's always this inaccessibility. And I mean, and it's okay, really. Like, I don't know why we have to be able to communicate everything and have everything be so intelligible. Like, yeah. But their shock is funny. Like, that was really funny for me in class, just seeing the whole, like, I can't believe these people, like, they don't have limbs and they're homeless and they just get high and party. Like, what a miserable existence. Like, and those words miserable were not used, but that's kind of the feeling that I got. Like, oh, imagine that would be terrifying to live like that. And to be fair, like in my limited free party experience, it was not that bad. People were quite cool, and yeah, and it's a good crowd, and I got a really really limited um part of the movement, but I also saw how they were really politically involved. Also, this was in France, so like French people just love to protest and whatever. But um I think they were very aware of how it's kind of ironic how you only protest when the government allows you to, and things like that. And they were aware of the theatrics of being part of um social existence, precisely because of the nature of what they do otherwise, which is not allowed, and which is very like marginal again. So whenever it came to actual political participation and actually being part of greater social movements, they did it, but with this slight sense of irony, which, I mean, they just, yeah, they just dealt with things a little bit differently. And that was refreshing to see. Uh it was another level of self-awareness. Like, I think maybe the rest of these French people would have benefited from. They need a little bit more anarchy in their hatred for governmental structures. But yeah, I think they're cool. I think it's just another society, another way of living life, like I said. Yeah, and I never thought, literally, like when I went to these parties, I never thought that I would ever hear about it again in this kind of context, like in a classroom. But I guess it came back, and I think, and it's just funny because it's like, oh right, yeah, I did that. But then when I didn't mention it in class. I was like, I went to this thing, but I think the professor was kind of like, I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to hear about you got high on these things and you were doing illegal things. And I'm like, well, I never said like I did illegal things. I just said that I met people who did this, and I went. Whatever happened, I am not. I don't know. You have to hear about it and find out. But we never got that far. Understandably so. I think it's just like I don't want to be complicit in any of these crazy abject things. Um, but yeah, that's what I'm thinking.